We left off with Melani Boudreaux Pawlowski, where she's kind of in the middle of the spotlight that investigators, detectives, and prosecutors are watching closely. This all stems from a shooting of her ex-husband, Brandon Boudreaux, October of 2019. Though it's been 5 years since this incident, her case remains open and authorities are still actively scrutinizing some of her highly questionable activities from that very crazy year. It's during that year that we see this religious cult-like group building more and more people who are following and preparing for the second coming of Christ. Now, a lot of people have talked about this case, and who followed it believe that Melani perhaps, allegedly, could have took part in that attempted shooting of Brandon Boudreaux back in October of 2019. Now, once Lori Vallow was arrested and Chad was arrested, Melani was coming out and she was talking a little bit. She was doing interviews. And through those interviews, we were able to capture a moment in time she can't erase and kind of compare it to her testimony that she has later during Chad Daybell's trial. You also are able to capture her, in my opinion, and I think most of you as well, I've read your comments, she's basically lying. Before we get into your comments and your thoughts on what you think about Melani Boudreaux Pawlowski, let's go back and remember who she is and who she loves.
Close are you to Lori?
My mom passed away when I was 9, and Lori is one of the closest things to her and how much love my mom showed me. So she's a friend, almost like a mother to me, and an aunt, and somebody that I love.
Do you think that she is being unfairly portrayed?
It's just not Lori that I see. I see a lot of hatred in the media and a lot of judgment. I see a lot of lies.
Everyone was concerned about the missing children. And people that didn't know these people knew it didn't seem like it was going to end well. But this interview that we watched between Melani and Ian made most of us sick to our stomach, watching them trying to manipulate the world into believing that they were innocent.
The months-long search for 7-year-old J.J. Vallow and 17-year-old Tylee Ryan officially comes to a close. The human remains found on Chad Daybell's property are officially identified as the missing kids. The Rexburg Police Department announcing the findings earlier today following autopsies performed in Boise.
It's during this time that Melani Boudreaux played the victim, and she continued to paint her ex-husband Brandon Boudreaux as the monster. She accused him of being gay. She accused him of everything she could. She accused him of running away with their children and hiding from her. But Brandon Boudreaux had just been shot at, because before that they had 50-50 custody of their children. And Brandon went over and beyond to make this divorce the easiest process for the children as he could, until the day he was shot. But Melani Boudreaux, well, when they asked her about running and hiding and not telling anyone where she was, she said she was looking for Brandon and that she had moved to Idaho for a fresh start, though she had moved next door to her cult serial killing mother, Lori Vallow.
Know where my cousins are, her children, JJ and Tylee, and I love all of them, and I know she's doing whatever she can to keep her kids safe, and I hope we can see how that turns out in the future as truth continues to come forward.
Human remains found on Chad Daybell's property are officially identified as the missing kids. The Rexburg Police Department announcing the findings earlier today following autopsies performed in Boise.
Did anything seem strange to you when you moved out there about the way Lori was acting or Chad?
Well, I moved out there right after my ex took my children from me. There's a lot of lies out there that I've abandoned my children, and
So during the time that she should be using this as an opportunity to find those missing children and to seek justice for the people that have been murdered and attacked, she has been rubbing their face in the dirt, creating lies and a narrative that make people believe that her story, she is the victim.
It's simply not true. I didn't move down there to be in a cult. I didn't move down there to be solely by Lori. Lori's very independent and does her own thing. And I had my own reasons for, kind of having a fresh start and trying to work through my custody battle with my ex.
So she continuously mentions the custody battle that didn't exist until after Brandon was shot at. She was the one that fled Arizona and went to Idaho. She's the one that cut off contact with everyone. She ran off to be with Lori and Chad in this cult. She refuses to admit that they were sharing 50-50 custody up until the time he was shot. She refuses to admit that Brandon was a good husband, father, and even an ex-husband. Ian continued to portray his own children and family. He blames the FBI for trying to find his kid, these missing kids, instead of blaming himself and his new wife as being an obstacle. When he goes to the FBI and gives them the information at first in a different light than what he's painting it today, he says that the FBI took the information that he had and they run with it, basically. He said that the FBI didn't give him any information, as if they're going to give him information into this. And at first I thought there's no way that Ian would be this unknowing. And maybe he's doing this because he does, Melanie was pregnant. And maybe he was trying to get custody of his child. It's been 5 years, and it isn't the case. He continues to support her. Ian turned his back on the good people. He continued to support Lori, Chad, and Melanie. He goes to Melanie's attorney and tells him everything that he said to the FBI. Why does he do that? Share it in the comments, I'm sure you know. And both of them said that basically media, people covering the story, even police, were making up stories, creating something from nothing. And the ego that Ian Pawlowski has to say that he gives them these small bits of information, and the FBI takes this information and uses it at this major framework to build the investigation on. There was zero concern for Tylee and JJ or any other victim in this case. Ian Pawlowski's main goal was to help his lover, wife, get out of trouble. And he said that the man that has now been proven in court to be a target from this group for murder, that Brandon Boudreaux was basing all of this off of baseless accusations. Brandon Boudreaux, out of the kindness of his heart, was trying to warn Ian or anybody he could about these people coming into their lives. But Ian could care less. In my opinion, this is based off of my opinion, based off of my research and the facts and evidence available to the public, including how many trials? Lori, Chad, Lori. 4 trials. How many people are murdered? Tammy Daybell, Charles Vallow, 2 children, JJ and Tylee. The last one, Brandon Boudreaux, got his justice. Now, bring those 2 back on camera and let them tell us this nonsense they were feeding to the public back then. Anyways, so what we're going to do, because I've got a lot of feelings in this case, I really do, because watching So many of these people in this group that could have stopped this at any time who chose not to are walking free, and there's no way in heck they should be. All right, let's read your comments, guys. Okay, we're going to start off with this comment by PH Chick. Her comment, she kind of sympathizes based on the evidence that she's able to see for Melani. I saw a family member describing what her mom did to her, and her dad tried to rescue her. And then as an adult, she then was reunited with the Cox family. And it's really sad, but Lori was only a second mom after she was married. I think she had part, and she's crazy too. But I don't know that she actually knew they planned to kill Brandon and her kids. Because Aubrey said her and Lori started fighting in Hawaii when Tammy died. And this is because Lori said her money was for Chad and Lori, and she told Lori it was not hers. But how does she not know Tylee and JJ were missing? PhD Chick, we've all been there with these same exact questions that you have, trying to figure out just how involved Melani was. Ian, a lot of these people, including Melanie Gibb and Zulema. I believe Aubrey could really open some doors. I hope she writes a book. Because Aubrey seemed to have more sense than any of them and was able to catch on to what was going on and wasn't afraid to admit it. Okay, so she was afraid, and that's part of the problem, is her life was being threatened. I'm absolutely certain that Zulema, Melanie Gibb, Aubrey, Melanie Boudreaux all could tell us a lot more. And if you think about it, Melanie Boudreaux's husband at the time, Brandon, was making decent money. And we heard that Lori and Charles, though they tried to make it seem as though they were well off, they struggled financially. And so that makes sense that Lori became her second mom after she got married. Thank you so much for sharing your thoughts and how you feel about this case. PS4 says, make both Pawlowski and Gibb go to jail. No doubt we are 100% with you. It just still doesn't make sense, does it? And then Mickey says, thank you, Mickey, for this too. Excellent podcast. 100% correct. Melanie P. is equally involved. And Amy, hey, Amy. So Amy writes, I'm not anti-Nate, but it is clear that this entire Mormon religion of the U.S. is too affected politically by the Mormon church, whether it is a radical group or not. I think that's why there's not enough people being forthcoming, and these extremist groups have gotten away with so much. How in the heck did Nate get so lucky to be the one on the plane while law enforcement served Lori and Chad in Hawaii? National TV stations and seasoned reporters and broadcasters weren't even there or invited. Don't tell me it's not the church. I think, I've even heard Mormons kind of mention that it is strange that, listen, Justin Lum, he got to talk with many family members. He got all the documents, but he did most of that himself. Whereas I think Nate helped him out with a few interviews and vice versa. But Nate did get all those secret things. So, that is interesting, isn't it? In fact, you can go, and I can't remember where it is because there's so much out there, but Nate actually tells you how he got this tip, anonymous tip, and a few times, in fact, and he was there. I mean, he's had it happen more than once. And is the church involved with making sure that Nate was the one to know the scoop before anyone else? Well, I guess that's something we have to wait to know or find out. Thank you so much for sharing your thoughts. And no, I don't think most of us are anti-Nate. Nate has done so many good things. I think some of my favorite videos was before he even got famous. And it's when I first, saw him. where at Christmas time, he and an anonymous giver go out around Christmas time and give out cars and money and groceries and clothes. It's pretty nice. But even so, we still kind of question what is going on behind the scenes, right? So we have another comment, and it's from Natalie. And Natalie is talking about Nate Eaton, which is one of the top reporters that's gotten a lot of the interviews and stuff that other people couldn't get. And a lot of people, for some reason, got really angry with Nate Eaton when he did the interview with Lori Vallow. So let's read her comment. So Nate Eaton is not the kind of person that would go along with something just because he's LDS. Nate is the truest and the most trustworthy person I've ever followed. From Akron, Idaho. Nate is a very loyal, loving person, but I think what people were upset about is there were a lot of people that's just very, very emotional with this case, and I guess they dream up what they probably thought he might do if he was to face Lori, and maybe they didn't see that. But I'll share more comments so that we can know, how people felt. Thank you so much for sharing that. Next, we have Nadzak. So, in the beginning, I was very angry with Melanie. I fully believe that she conspired in the attempted murder of Brandon. I also think that she wanted 2 of her children done away with. Her comment about how she thought her children would be insured because they can turn dark is more evidence of what she expected for her children. She seems as psycho as Lori. I didn't know what to think of Ian. He was trying to do the honorable thing by trying to protect his wife because he believed her. Then, of course, she became pregnant. My hope was that Melanie would be incarcerated where she wouldn't have any influence on the children. Bringing charges is totally dependent on the prosecutor. Good luck with that. Wasn't she living in Idaho when the crime took place? Or maybe she would be charged in Maricopa County. Prosecutor Wood is LDS. Maricopa is generally crooked. So as far as I know, and it's been a while since I've looked, Melani Boudreaux was living in Arizona during the attack of Brandon Boudreaux. She actually packed her U-Haul on Halloween night, October 31st, 2019. The tampering with a computer, we never got an official date of that I know of. I'm sorry, Zach. And also, when we talk about Melanie Boudreaux, when she got pregnant so quickly during all this coming down, it was just crazy, irresponsible, you would think, to get pregnant while all this was going on. Many people like you believe that pregnancy meant something, and was it a way to kind of get out of this mess she got herself in? You made some really good points, and it's so good to see you again, Zach. Thank you so much for commenting. Okay, our next comment, they're going to start off talking about Nate. This is Clarissa. She says, Nate Eaton has nothing to do with how the prosecution decides who they can convict. Nate is an amazing reporter. He has been on this case from the beginning. So what if he's LDS? The idea that Nate would be involved in preventing someone from being charged is ridiculous. I work in the criminal justice system. Generally, the state will go after the low-hanging fruit first. I do not believe Melanie is going to be prosecuted. We did not know what happened behind the scenes. We do not know what deals could have been made in order to get the two Melanies and Zulema to testify. There are a lot of decisions being made behind the scenes in criminal cases. We are always negotiating for our clients. Melanie should be prosecuted along with some of the others. I seriously doubt that would happen. Thank you so much, Clarissa, for sharing. And also, I think we are hoping for that. And Trina has the case open. It's just a matter if she can get it together or not. There's no doubt that there's deals that go on behind the scenes. Since I've started covering these true crime cases, I have sadly seen a lot of it go down in a way that shocked me. Probably one of the saddest ones was for Kelsey Barrett, where a person that helped clean up a crime scene didn't even do 2 years. They made a deal with the devil. I appreciate your comment, and it seems like you work in places that you might can give us some stories, so don't be shy and share maybe some personal experience and down in the comments. Again, thank you for commenting. Let's move on, because if I talk too much, we'll never get your comments out there, guys. So the next comment I wanted to share, because my audio is not that great lately, and it's because I don't know if a lot of you are new. I do everything on my phone. I struggle finding a decent mic, and even if you do, they still kind of pick up that background noise. Right now, I'm searching to upgrade, which means I'm looking for a computer. Anyone that knows much about audio and what type of PC I would need for editing, drop it below. I would appreciate it so much. Thanks for commenting. I appreciate it. Okay, our next comment. Oh, look who it is. It's Nadzak. We haven't seen you in a while. But anyways, the comment is, doesn't the church own East Idaho News? Nate has a strong loyalty to the church. I think that, and his livelihood being dependent on the station control what he says. Besides, he's been rolling in popularity since his big moment in Hawaii. Zach, I am so sorry. I did not have time to look in and see who owns East Idaho News, but I wouldn't doubt if it was the church. And, I think it's like with any media source you work for, you are dependent on doing whatever you think they want. So great point. Thanks again. You know how much I care about you guys. My next comment is from my girl, Diva. And Diva, I know you've been struggling with your health, and I'm sending my love to you. Deb, do you remember that Chad picked Alex's wife and Melanie's husband, Ian? Both got married at the same place on the same day? Diva, I'm going to have to reword just a little bit of this. That Lori will say that Tylee killed JJ. That means that she wrapped them up in plastic with all their remains, and then she took her own life. Well, Lori, you are saying that she committed suicide, but who dismembered her and then tried to burn her to ash and put her in the pet cemetery? Why won't some journalists firmly ask Lori who dismembered her? Who tried to burn her? Who put her charred in the pet cemetery? Well, who, Lori? Who? Yes, a lot of people who watched that interview with Nate were upset. But I'm not certain they were upset with Nate. And I think a lot of people didn't see Nate as nervous as he was. He was terrified and nervous about this interview. And I saw for myself, and you can share your own thoughts, guys, no matter what it is. What I saw was a man that had so many questions and knew exactly what he wanted to ask and kind of lost himself. And I know what that's like, because I do that all the time. And so, that being said, the fact that Lori blamed Tylee, no one believes it. No one. And the fact that she thinks that she can make somebody believe it is just completely insane. And watching her smile and laugh and not even understand the damage she created physically and mentally, and continue to mentally abuse and hurt her entire family and anyone and following this case to be truthful. It's easy to see that Lori goes through life demanding what she wants from people, what she wants them to believe and think. And if they don't do it, well, there's consequences. I know that this hurt you. I can, see it in your comments. And I'm sorry that anyone had to listen to that because it just wasn't fair. It's nice to see you, Diva, and I love you and I hope you're feeling better. And so our next comment, Marlene, I hope I pronounced that correctly. Melanie sounds so much like Lori in her speech patterns. Sickening. Brandon was lucky twice, as I believe, Alex being there, and the night Melanie was arrested for trespassing at Brandon's. Alex was in the vehicle down the road. She is disgusting and does not deserve those children. Ian is blinded by love. Thank you so much for sharing this because so many people agree with you, especially a lot of people are talking about Melanie going to Brandon's house after Alex Cox attempted to shoot him. Alex Cox had the galls to drive Melanie himself, the person accused of shooting Brandon, to their house. Strangely, she was demanding the police go get her children. Also, to go get Brandon and bring him out. It's just insane how long the police allowed her to try to manipulate and cause that much trouble. And it was scaring the kids, no doubt. Well, that one act alone made you wonder, what was the purpose of Melanie really being there? Were they just there to kind of torture him and scare him? And again, if you pay attention to, the police being there and her raising hell, that's not what a good mom does for their children. Thank you so much for sharing your comment. Again, guys, if you hear a comment that you can relate to, drop it in the comments. So next is City on the Lakes. A lot of people believe that maybe some of this is connected to the Mormon Church, that they might have been involved with whether people testify or not, which is true, at least to an extent. So this comment says, there are Mormon in high places, and that is true. Maybe one day we can take time to talk about that. Next is Valerie. I think Melanie is guilty and she knew about the dark and light. She's just like Lori. Great point, Valerie, because if you listen to the testimony and then the recordings, there's no doubt in our minds she was involved. Paula Johnson. I'm sure Nate would never do anything to stop any kind of justice. Leaders of the church are not supposed to talk to anyone about how to do their jobs. But who knows? I am ex-Mormon myself. I do wish the top leaders of the church would address this for the members. I hate this horrendous crime. Thank you so much, Paula, for sharing this. And she is ex-Mormon, so she has a little insight there. But we have learned, Paula, that many people who are in leadership roles, they were actually talking to people and saying, don't talk, or, there's been letters from the church, and I can't remember it off the top of my head, but I will cover it in Life Beyond the Grave. Do you find that shocking if that is true? Share that in comments, Paula, please. So great of you to be here. Thanks for commenting, and I'll talk to you soon. Okay, moving forward, Karen. She says she started popping out the babies with her new husband to keep out of jail. So there you go, guys. You can see it again. Another comment where they believe that her getting pregnant was some type of plan to help keep her from going to jail. And then JoJo. Brandon Boudreaux's trial was in Arizona. Both Melanie's and Zuzu are all deep in these rhythms. Wouldn't you like to be a fly on the wall, JoJo? Thank you so much for commenting. Maria Thomas says, allegedly, she wanted the insurance money, and most likely she was going to share that money with her, I think she meant to say Aunt Lori. Yes, we've heard that through the grapevine multiple times through testimonies where they mention the fact that Zulema talked to Melanie and said, Lori planned on you sharing that money. Did you know that? And according to Zulema, Melanie acted as kind of surprised about that and said that was sad. But knowing Melanie Boudreaux is a liar, it's hard to know, if she knew or didn't know. Because other things that we've heard kind of suggest that she was planning on giving the money to this group of people. So who knows? All right, let's do a few more. So Victor says, Melanie must be in prison too. And Victor, we solely agree. What the heck, right? So our next comment is Katie. I don't think Tammy was a dark spirit. Chad had been saying Tammy was going to die young. I do not remember her being labeled as dark. All right, Katie. Well, there's so much information, it's easy to not hear it all. And it was definitely in an email where they named her a dark spirit called Viola. Chad had mentioned multiple times that Tammy would be a dark entity. And basically, he had gotten to the point of no return. So they had made up their mind that she was the next target. I'm working that direction on my series, Life Beyond the Grave, and I'll be able to show you all that stuff. Thanks for commenting, Katie. Janice, Summer, and Melanie P. always were on Lori's boat. They enabled, justified, enabled, and supported her crazy beliefs by being silenced. Let all this crash and burn. They all have blood on their hands. Charles, Tammy, Tylee, and JJ. So, I'm so scared to pronounce your name wrong, but Riquet, a lot of people feel as you do, like Janice and Summer at the beginning with Charles could have maybe, especially when Adam got on the boat with Charles and said, we need to do an intervention, felt as if they could have done something, but who knows what really went on behind there, because there was a lot of talking on the phone to different people that we don't even know about. Absolutely great point. Thank you so much for sharing with us. All right, and our next comment is Molly. Eventually her kids will see what is on the internet about their dad and Aunt Lori and their own mom. I can only imagine that she is telling horrible lies about her ex-husband to her kids. And Molly, I think I 1,000% agree with you, and probably most of us do. What is she telling those kids? And hopefully she isn't. We don't know what kind of custody agreements they have and what's going on behind the scenes and what they've done to protect the children. The sad part is there's no doubt that this story's huge. They're gonna have to one day face it. And it's sad, isn't it? Thank you so much for sharing with us, Molly. And I'm gonna go ahead and close out. We went 34 minutes for now, and I need to cook dinner, help my son with his medications, and get a shower. But guys, I love you so much. I want to say thank you so much for sharing these comments. I appreciate the comments, especially from people like Emmy Lou, who say, great job, Debbie. Love the interactive format. And I'm leaving a few up here for you guys to read. And hopefully we can do more of these soon, because it's been fun. I love reading your thoughts. So thank you so much, guys, for being part of this. Please take a moment to remember these girls. Their cases are cold. They need to be remembered, that their cases need solved. Share their faces on your social media today. Love you guys. Thank you so much. Don't forget to subscribe, to like, and I'll see you soon.